You have tickets to the meet show.
All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Living the Dream podcast. Today on the show, we have Linda Hildonen and Colby Michaud, who are the owners of LinCo Media. How you guys doing?
We're doing great.
Great, yeah.
And did I get that right? That
Great pronunciation.
You did very well,
perfect.
yes.
Sounds good. I was struggling beforehand,
Okay.
but we like to jump right in. So if we could start with just hearing a little bit more about each of you and what you like to do for fun, that'd be great.
All right, well, I will start. So yeah, as you said, my name's Linda Hildonen. My day job is to be a special education teacher. And then in terms of what I do for fun, I mean, I guess the LinCo Media stuff is a lot of what I do for fun. So Colby and I work in my downtime and his downtime. And in reality, we have no downtime, but at basically doing projects that are largely about musical theater or art that has its roots in musical theater, whether it actually is theater. So the most recent thing we've put out is a podcast called Once in a Lifetime, which is a podcast audio drama in musical form. So there's original songs in it, and it's a lot of work, but it's also a lot of fun doing it. So I would say that is a big part of what I do for fun, because when I'm not here doing this, I'm at home with children, and having small children very rarely qualifies as fun, just in case you were curious.
I gotcha.
Yeah, we're both from Maine, but so my day job is I run a small video production company here in Maine, and as far as fun, I don't really have much fun. I don't, because not that I don't like fun, I just don't have a lot of time for fun. But if I did have time for fun, writing the music is fun. It is really fun.
Sure.
Seriously. You just haven't been doing that much recently.
Yeah, we've been in the production stage, and the production stage is less fun.
But I think I like to mountain bike. That's pretty fun. And I think dating is pretty fun. So I'll say that too.
So ladies.
Yeah.
Line up.
There we go. Well, just curious, what made you guys start LinCo Media, and what made the partnership happen? Like, how'd you guys meet and all that good stuff?
Do you want to take it, or should I?
I mean, I'll take it since you always do.
Okay, try it this time. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, because I'm gonna get it wrong anyway, so you have to fix me. So it was about 6 years ago. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, almost exactly. Yes, in July. And so my company, my video company, was hired to do a very short or a small project for a retirement community,
which is where I was working at the time,
here in Maine, in another town in Maine. And
Schooner Estates. We can give them
Schooner Estates.
They always love to plug.
And Linda was their marketing person at the time, and so I think it was that initial kind of walk through location scout thing, and she was the tour guide basically. One of the things that I picked up on going through this huge property was how many different pianos there were just spread out in different rooms. And there was one in particular that was in this, it was like a great room, or like a,
oh boy, I can't remember the name of that room right now, but it's a room where you can see up to the next level. It's beautiful. Yeah,
it was like a gathering room, and just kind of hang out there.
With something living room. Oh, it's gonna bother
me. But that piano, so most of the pianos in the property were small upright pianos, but this one was this grand, polished black piano, and anything shiny I really like. Is really drawn to
like
shiny
a raccoon
things.
In that sense. Yeah.
And so I politely asked if I was okay to touch the piano.
Yes.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I said touch, not play.
You absolutely did say touch the piano. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was allowed to. So that was cool. And I started playing, and you can take it from here.
So he turns to me, and he's just playing, and I was like, what is this? And he's like, oh, I'm just improvising. And I was like, what the heck do you mean you're just improvising? Because it's some of the most beautiful music I've ever heard in my life. And then he starts to explain to me how he's a composer, and he's always wanted to write a musical. And he's like, you don't perchance dabble in writing at all? And I'm like, I dabble. And he's like, lyrics at all? And I was like, I've done it here and there. And he's like, are you any good? And I distinctly remember that I was like, well, I'm a woman. I'm not allowed to admit that I'm good. And he just gave me this look on his face. And I was like, yes, I'm very good at it. And then he wanted me to write lyrics to the thing he was creating right there. And I was like, this is a little on the spot for me. And like, we came up with a couple of lines, but I took out my phone and there's this recording I still have this recording somewhere from, I think this must have been the first day we met. There's this recording where he's just playing, and then one of my bosses comes in and starts like marveling at it. And I'm like, oh, he's a composer. He wants me to write lyrics for me. You can hear us discussing it in the background. And then I remember I took the recording home, and over the next week, and we continued to have contact because of the project at Schooner, but over the next few weeks, I put the recording I had into GarageBand, and I cut it up into sections, and I wrote lyrics over it. And there's this part in this like original recording of me writing lyrics over the thing where you can hear my boss in the background, and he keeps looping because of the way I had just been working off of this recording we did. And then I remember like working very hard on these lyrics around this musical concept that we had at some point talked about. And I sent it to him. There must have been a month between when I actually sat down to write it and send it to you or whatever, because I sent it to him, and you know what it was, is you did not respond to me in a timely manner at all.
Surprise.
I think I gave it to you maybe a week or two later, and you responded like 3 weeks after that. And it was like, incredible lyrics, our partnership has officially begun. And I remember thinking like, I'm not going to know this guy for very long, but just out of curiosity, I'll just put that into my phone. And I was like, remind me in a year that this is the anniversary of our partnership officially beginning. And that was August 8th of whatever 6 years ago is now, right? 20, do the math, 2016. And lo and behold, that thing comes up in my phone every year and reminds me that our partnership officially began that year. So no one expected it to. I mean, I don't know. It was just this playful little thing, and then it became a lot more. So sometimes things come in unexpected places.
There we go. I love that. And I love how I love the action in the moment, and then it has led to like so much. Like 6 years later, you guys are still working together. So that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, some people could call that fate.
You could, yeah.
Like it was meant to be or something.
Facts. Well, awesome. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the motivation behind LinCo Media? What gets you both up and keeps you going every day?
You want me to jump in first this time?
Yeah, you can go for it.
So, I mean, the first and foremost thing that gets me up and gets me going every day, and for anybody who's listening to this, you could take or leave my lyrics. You have to hear his music, because I feel like that's what gets me going every day. It's a little sappy, but the thing for me that's very motivating is that I was very smart. I was very capable. He was very smart and he was very capable, but neither one of us really managed to steer the boat where it needed to go until we met. And it felt very kismet. It felt very, I don't know, like his music is something I understand on a level that I haven't understood anybody else's music before. And I'm able to work with it in a way that I haven't been able to work with anything else before, in terms of writing stories around it and creating the lyrics for it. And one of the things that I've said before, but it's so important, is that like I have worked with as a lyricist and a writer, I've had other working relationships, but one thing that I think is so important in any working relationship is that you have to respect the other person enough to not try to change you have to believe in what they're doing so that you don't try to supersede it. So I have a little musical partnership with my husband sometimes that we occasionally do stuff. And I was like, okay, I want you to write a riff to these lyrics or whatever. And he will, and then I will change it because he's just like, I love him, but I think I'm the better artist. Like I really just, I come to it with like a great deal of like confidence that I'm the one who knows the way this should be done. And so I just, having the respect for your creative partner, to the fact that you want to preserve what they've done and build on it. And sometimes we have to make changes for each other. But I think the reason it's easier for us to make changes for each other is because of the respect we have for each other. And so, I mean, the motivation, I mean, you can work all your life trying to make your dreams come true and never get there. And then suddenly something shifts and something works. And that is the reason to get up in the morning. And it's absolutely the most motivating thing in the world for me. And I've never known motivation before like this. And that's why the stars have aligned to a certain extent.
Yeah, I love that.
What motivates you?
I know, tough to follow.
Coffee?
Yeah.
Just coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Caffeine.
Yeah.
The dread or existential dread that if you don't finish this episode by a certain time, then
Oh yeah, we were both very motivated by deadlines.
We need deadlines. Yeah. For sure.
We've certainly discovered in this process.
Just in the micro.
Say what?
That's the micro answer to that.
The micro answer. Yeah. No, but we've certainly discovered in this process that we need to find a better way. Like this is a conversation you and I are going to have about how I think we need miniature deadlines before the deadline, because when we're working to the deadline, we need soft openings. But motivation, deadlines are very motivating for us.
Oh yeah, great accountability, and work expands to the time that you give it, right? So
yeah.
Luckily, we're both pretty good at working under pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess you could say that 80% of my work is done under pressure.
Oh, yeah.
So
80% might be. You might be undercutting.
That might be a little less.
Yeah, it might be 90%.
But I, at least in that kind of case. But so on the macro, the motivation for me is that I've been a musician since 8th grade. Actually started in Texas in high school drumline, and that was really eye-opening and then really fun. And there's a culture when you're in a school band that's really fun, and you make all these cool friends. And so because my dad was in the military and we had to move around all the time, I was only in that particular band for a year, and then we had to move to New Jersey, which for whatever reason I don't have any recollection of. It's a traumatic experience, apparently.
Yeah, let's get into that right now.
And then it was a short time, and then my dad retired, we came to Maine. And so I did high school and college in Maine, and through those years I was in jazz band, concert band, pep band, marching band, as many bands as I could be in, basically. But I only played percussion or drums. But in high school, my teacher, John Neal, my music teacher, was a really gifted pianist. And so he started teaching me, informally teaching me the fundamentals of playing piano. And that just kind of stuck with me. And then my cousin, Allie, she gave me her old keyboard because she wasn't playing it anymore. And then I had something to play at home to practice, and just evolved from there. And it was actually early on, once I figured out that how to use my fingers on a keyboard, that if I played a certain sequence in a certain order of notes, that it could create something completely new and different. And so I started composing things back when I was still probably a junior in high school when I first started.
Didn't you win an award?
I did, yeah.
I don't remember what it was, but maybe it wasn't the best title you've ever come up with.
Sad and Rage. Yes, it was a solo piano piece that I was in. I guess it was my junior year of high school, and my piano teacher thought it was good enough to submit to a local competition here, and it came in 3rd place actually. And so I was like, well, that's pretty cool. And then it was terrifying because I had to go there and perform, which was awful.
Yeah.
But ever since that point, I've really liked the idea of being able to translate feelings into music. And my teacher told me that music is what feelings sound like. And I've really taken that to heart. And I hope that's reflected in the more contemporary stuff that I'm doing musically. But this is a very long answer to your question about motivation. One of my biggest dreams is that someday I will be able to be on a stage in a concert hall or like a scoring stage with a full live orchestra, hearing my own music played back by 70 or 80 different people at the same time. That would be, I've made it at that point. You know, so the motivation is to put out as good work as I can with the resources I have today, just to continuously try to get better and improve and learn the craft.
Gotcha. Well, that is a great segue into the next section of the podcast.
Good.
Excellent. Good.
About dreams and goals.
Nice.
So Colby, we know that you want to be on a stage with a live orchestra. You said hearing your music played back. So is that like the live orchestra is just playing your music? Are you playing with them? Like what's going on there?
Oh, I could be standing next to them or in the audience. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily, I want to have that moment where I would love to play with them, but I would also just like to take it in, you know, just like experience it. And particularly because I hear the music all the time, obviously, because, you know, I'm the one who records it and mixes it. I use virtual instruments, but there's something different about having real humans perform it. And, you know, other artists, you know, the cool thing about an orchestra is that, or a band, is that there are several different artists all contributing to the same mission at the same time. And everybody has a different part to play, but when you combine them, it creates something magical, hopefully.
Yeah.
And holistic, and it means something. So it would just be really, it'd just be really cool. I don't know how to explain it otherwise.
I think I got it. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Colby, are there any other dreams you want to chat about, or are we going to Linda next for dreams and goals?
We can go to Linda.
Oh, do I have dreams and goals?
Yeah,
Wow. Okay,
I think so,
let me think
yeah.
about that. No, we talked about this before, Colby and I, and I think for me, you know, it really is, I think I would really love to see something that we wrote on a Broadway stage, or possibly in a film or something. But I mean, there are the accolades and the financial benefits that come from that. But at the end of the day, I think both of us have this really strong desire to communicate particularly emotional truths. And I think that we are able to get them together in this way that really matters. As he said, you know, he said that music is the way feelings sound, and I've heard him say that before. And working with that, putting words to that, building stories around that, creates this sort of deep, relatable truth that anybody who loves musical theater can, you know, can relate to, how it draws you in. And it's God, I don't know exactly who said it, but Aaron Sorkin quotes it, and I'm going to misquote it. But the idea that the general, that sort of this universal truth is found in the deeply specific. And so that, you know, when you hear pop songs that are catchy because they generalize, like, I am sad, I am happy, or whatever. Yeah, they sort of have this lowest common denominator appeal. And don't get me wrong, phenomenal pop songs like that are very good for uniting people, but there's something about the specificity of going in and hearing the story in musical theater that brings you so specifically into the character, and then from that you can draw out your own deeper truths. And so I think a really big goal of mine, there are things that I have to say, I like to put some of my ideals into every single thing we write. Like Colby will tell you, every single time we've gone into a project, like, I'm like, okay, but are we saying enough about the world? Is this are we being idealistic enough? Are we making a strong enough point? And does what we're saying matter enough? And so I think the idea of being able to send that messaging to a wider audience, whether it be a Broadway audience or a movie audience or something one day, that's the dream, right there.
Yeah, I love it. So just to make sure I didn't miss anything, putting your ideals into every single thing that you write and getting that to a wider audience, either on a Broadway stage or a film.
Yeah, or
that.
both.
I think for me, it's really the appeal for this particular kind of work is the collaboration aspect. And a lot of what my life has been is solitary kind of work, where because in terms of I've edited a lot of videos in my day, and when you're shooting something, you're on set with people, but that's just a small sliver of the amount of work that goes into making a video. Most of that happens after in the edit, and that's usually by yourself. And so I kind of got used to that and realized that I needed something else that was collaborative and had a team approach. And then music, combine that with music, and that's musical theater basically.
You've gone out into a totally different direction though.
I know.
About our dreams, and you're just like collaboration. Yeah.
Well, how is that? That's
the man is running a podcast about dreams. What am I?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All good. Maybe Colby has a dream of collaboration. We could put that down.
That's exactly right.
I do.
Yeah.
That's
a dream of coming together. As
I was going off of your thing about having it on Broadway, and like, oh my gosh, how many people would be involved in that?
As an introvert, that's the hard part.
I'm not an introvert.
Yeah, he's not. I very much am. Which you would 100% get reversed every single time we get interviewed, just for the record.
Yeah.
But
that's facts. You would.
Yeah.
No,
she likes to do the talking.
I'm good at the talking. If you were good at it, I'd let you do more of it.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right.
I love the banter. Awesome. Well, if there were one or two people that you guys can meet, and this could be a specific person or a type of person, and they'd really help you take the next step towards Colby getting on that stage, Linda getting into that Broadway stage or that film, who would this person be and how would they help you?
So I've been thinking about this, and I have this very, I'm sorry, and I want to be succinct, but up until recently, there was this understanding among young composers in musical theater that one of the most generous and receptive mentors to young musical theater people was Stephen Sondheim. Like he had this real generosity to his spirit when it came to giving feedback and giving motivation to young composers or whatever. And so he died while we were making our current musical. And I remember it was a very, very hard day for me, because I was just thinking, gosh, I will never, I'll never have a chance to send him a letter and ask him to listen to it. And maybe he would send one back. And so that was, and I think just hearing it from somebody like him would be sort of the step that I need to just keep going. And I mean, obviously, there's a dream world where you meet somebody like him and he likes it and sends it to somebody who, the recognition helps you. But more than that, it's just like, you can't understand at this stage. We've been working, this is our first publicly available project. We've been working on it for 2 years, and we were so weary when we started to begin to get comments from people about how much they liked it, because we finally put it out. And that is so important at this stage, when you've been just going and going and going in a vacuum and have no idea anymore if it's good or bad because you're blinded to it. So having that kind of having somebody give you that kind of feedback, and if it were coming from one of your heroes, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
So I think if we go to living people, I think the person who has sort of taken up that mantle in a kind of way for me is Lin Manuel Miranda, who did had a similar relationship with Sondheim, and he recently put out this movie Tick Tick Boom, which was about he directed the movie Tick Tick Boom, which was a musical originally written by Jonathan Larson, and it's about how Jonathan Larson, on his way to making Rent, had made this other musical that failed, but the one thing that he really got out of it was that Stephen Sondheim told him that he did a wonderful job and he should keep going. And that was the thing that drove him through writing Tick, Tick, Boom, and then drove him to writing Rent. And so one of my dreams, I've been waiting, which revolutionized Broadway and changed everything from then on. But one of the things that I've been waiting to do until I can figure out exactly what I want to say is to sit down and write a fan letter to Lin Manuel Miranda and ask him, like, hey, this is what you've meant to me, and this is you, like, Colby and I, one of the first things he said to me that first day was, you have to listen to the Hamilton soundtrack, and then we bonded like crazy over that. And I want to write him this long letter about gosh, this is a longer answer than I meant for it to be. A long letter that explains how important he's been to our evolution as artists and our evolution as friends, and just beg him to listen to maybe one episode and just hope that he likes it, because if he could hear one of our songs, that's it's Broadway Stage, Lin Manuel Miranda hearing one of our songs, like they're not far apart in terms of dreams. So I think it would be him if I could meet him. I think just the that help of hearing his feedback would be amazing. And if he wanted to also tweet about the podcast, I'd be fine with that. Like, I would be
yeah.
Who could you meet?
So I would obviously love to meet Lin Manuel Miranda as well. John Williams, the composer, the American composer, film composer. He's getting up there, but
he 100, didn't he?
No, I don't think he's not 100.
Okay,
yet. He's in his 90s. But
I know that it was his birthday very recently,
birthday.
And I texted you, and I think it must have been 95. It was something round.
Okay, so I grew up listening to John Williams music before I even knew that I wanted to write music.
As did everyone, frankly.
Well, yeah, because I mean, in that generation at least.
No, I mean every generation. So it's Star Wars, like if it's.
Well, I mean, but I mean, if you're talking about the generation like millennials, and it's not as anyway. So
John Williams.
Anyway, one of my favorite, my mom's favorite movie series was Indiana Jones, and he famously did that too, and she loved Star Wars too. So like, it's just ever since I was a little kid, I heard his music, and his music is so narrative, and it's you can hear the story without seeing it, and you understand what's going on. You hear the emotions of the characters. It's amazing. But so I would love to just have a conversation with that guy, and something that might be more practical, though, I think would be meeting a film director like Jennifer Lee. So Jennifer, if you're listening, would love to meet you. She directed did she do both Frozen, both Frozen movies?
Well, she's the whole head of Disney Animation right now, so she has her hand in almost all of them.
Yeah. So she wrote and directed Frozen 2. Yeah.
Well, she had a partner.
Co-wrote. And
I love, one thing I love about Jennifer Lee is that I don't remember for the life of me, I don't know the name of her creative partner, but it's a male creative partner, and you really don't see female male creative partnerships in non-romantic relationships that often. So it's really it's great to see. So go Jennifer Lee, and guy whose name I can't remember, as much as I respect you for working for it.
Yes.
Yeah. His son's name was a writer.
That's right. Yeah.
I don't know.
There we go. Well, I will say Zoom is kicking us on our 7 minutes right now.
Okay.
We see that too, yeah.
I want to jump to two more questions. What is one action step that you guys can take right now, or continue to take if you're already doing it, to meet Lin Manuel Miranda, John Williams, or Jennifer Lee, or all three?
We'll continue to spam them.
Okay, no,
it hasn't been working.
I'm gonna write a fan letter. I haven't spammed anybody. I've spammed a lot of people, but I haven't spammed anybody I respect, because I want to take the time to write the real genuine thing. But I actually am going to sit down, and I'm going to go through drafts as Lin Manuel would, to write this letter, just to maybe we meet, maybe we don't, but I want to be on his radar. And I know for a fact that he makes it a priority to answer every one of his fan letters. So he'll read it. Whether or not he'll scan the
Yeah.
little link I send him and listen to the podcast, that's another thing. But so that's my actionable step. I have to sit down soon and put pen to paper.
We should do a version of that where like you QR code, but it's like specific for him, and it's going to be when
Welcome, Lin.
Yeah, hey Lin, thanks for listening to us.
I mean, honestly, you're not wrong, because then we would know whether he did or not.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Okay, so for me, to be able to meet John Williams, I think that's gonna be very difficult. But the next logical step is to, if he ever has another live performance, to go to that concert that he's performing at. And he does. I think he resides in Massachusetts because he's done a lot with Boston Pops. And
You should like move to Massachusetts.
maybe I should.
Yeah, couldn't you just show up at his house?
Maybe.
I think what you should do is you should move to the exact city where John Williams lives.
Okay. I think it's a
That's
very
an-
small rural
that's an
town. Like I think he's
actionable-
like
Then you would see him
purposely
all the
getting
time.
away from everybody.
Let's get you to that town.
Yeah, I feel
That's
like
perfect.
especially as famous people get older, I feel like they're easier to
Oh, what if
contact with.
I feel like he gets driven around whenever he's like, maybe I could become a chauffeur and
Oh.
then
You could be John Williams' chauffeur. I could be driving Mr. Williams.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hello,
That's
Mr.
amazing.
Williams. By
This
the
could
way,
happen
I don't know if
next
you heard this
week.
podcast.
Yeah.
but-
Let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
That's the plan.
Okay. Cool.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I'm writing it down, so now you got to do it.
You got to do it then.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I have one last question for you guys.
We have one last answer.
So you know how there are people on the planet who have that really fixed mindset. They're not willing to accept help. They're not willing to accept change. Sometimes they'll live their whole life like that, and sometimes they'll die like that, unfortunately.
Mhm.
Other times they end up making the switch in their life to that growth mindset, willing to accept help and willing to accept change. In y'all's opinion, in the next 3 minutes, what is the catalyst that causes that switch?
I think a lot of times it's got to be something. I think sometimes it's got to be something sort of traumatic,
Or devastating.
devastating. Yeah. I
like
think.
a lot of adversity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we didn't really talk much about our motivation in terms of pain, but a lot of our motivation comes from very deep wells of pain. You can't tell by the smile on my face, but I assure you that's the accurate truth. So I think a lot of times it's just, you have to get to your lowest part before you can start climbing up sometimes.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
To put it quickly, yeah. I think you have to be pushed to a limit.
Hmm.
Rock bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how do you, we both, and I think most people have been to rock bottom, quote unquote, but how do we know where the bottom actually is?
And
Rock.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
why do some people hit what is seemingly rock bottom and stay there?
Well, that's about resilience, right? That's
Maybe it's not the bottom then.
Well, and in some places, though, I think, if you want the special education teacher answer, it's about an internal locus of control. So there's this concept that you either have an internal locus of control or an external locus of control, which means you either believe that you are, that you have the ability to control everything and you have the ability to shape the life you want, or you believe that you are the victim of circumstances. And it's actually a spectrum. And to be fair, I'm pretty much in the middle of that spectrum. Like, I believe that circumstances are very important. And I also believe that being able to overcome those circumstances is very important. But having an internal locus of control, we know that if we can raise our children to have an internal locus of control, to believe that they can determine their own futures, even if I might have a little bit more of an external locus of control than the next person, but I teach my children to have an internal locus of control. I teach my students to have an internal locus of control, because even if I don't believe it, I know if I can make them believe it, they will have better outcomes than if they didn't. And so I think that when you're talking about somebody hitting rock bottom and staying there, that comes from having a very external locus of control, having no sense that you are able to control the circumstances of your life and that you're a victim of them. And being able to climb out is having at least a slightly internal locus of control, feeling like you have the ability to overcome the things that have happened to you.
Mm-hmm.
That might be the best answer to that follow-up question that I've gotten on the show.
I'm good at the talking. I don't
Awesome. Well, before Zoom cuts us off, thank you guys for coming on the show.
You are so welcome. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank
It's
you.
been a real pleasure.
Of course. And if you guys are listening to this and you loved what they had to say, you loved what they're about, go listen to their music. The podcast will be in the show notes.
Mhm.
Also,
go to onceinaLifetimepodcast.com. OnceinaLifetimepodcast.com.
there we go. If you happen to know Lynn, John, or Jennifer, make sure to connect all of us to them. And on that note, send this podcast to 1 to 3 people you know need to hear this message. Shoot us a 5-star review on iTunes, and we're out.